10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Liftoff.
What's up, guys? Mott here. I'm super excited. We are doing big night in this Friday at Penn National. $20 entry, $2,000 guarantee in the Stable Duel app. And I have brought the pro from Penn, Dave Bush from Bush Racing. How are you? I'm so excited you're here. It's been, I feel like, a year since we've done a live stream together.
Yeah, it's been forever. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Maybe I just wasn't invited back, but it's really good to be back. Got excited when I saw the DM from you to join tonight's game a couple of days ago. So I actually sat down and handicapped the card, which I typically don't do at Penn National. I just kind of ride with some of the horses that I've got in, but I handicapped the card tonight for you. So
well, and a good card it is. So you helped me kind of understand some of what's going on. I knew there were stakes races at Penn. I knew they were all 50,000, but there's a big reason behind it. I'll let you tell everybody why $50,000. What's going on at Penn National tonight?
I guess maybe that's for the reason for the correlation. But so today is Penn National's 50th anniversary. So they opened the racetrack 50 years ago today. I guess if my math is right, I guess it's 1972.
You're faster than me, but yeah,
that makes sense. So that was opening day at Penn. So yeah, so they've got 4 $50,000 races today. As I was saying to you just before we started the show, the one unique thing about these races, so if you're looking at it, you're going, wow, these really aren't that great of $50,000 stakes races. There's two kind of key caveats to being able to be eligible for the races. One is that you had to have started at Penn National in 2022. Which I think is really nice because it certainly supports then the local horsemen who have supported that racetrack throughout this year and previous years. And two, you couldn't have won a sweepstakes or a stakes in 2022. So you're looking at fields of horses that started at Penn and haven't won a stakes race this year, which gives some opportunities for, I guess, horses like mine in the fourth, which we'll talk about, I know, later.
Yep. I like yours in the fourth. And it is, you're looking at horses that have won $28,000 allowance that have been in claiming and have won or haven't, and then all of a sudden they're in a $50,000 stake. And so you kind of, obviously narrow down the choices as you look at the PPs, but they're all in that same realm. So it's kind of fun to see what they're going to do here up against each other. So there's 8 races. So you're going to have to double up in your stables. Dave's got a few stables in tonight's game. He does pretty good at Penn National at Stable Duel. So take a look for him. What is your Stable Duel name?
What is my stable duel name? I think it's Bush Racing. Let me see how I can find it. Yeah, I think it is. It's what it shows, at least on the front, when I can see the rosters that I've got listed. I think it's Bush Racing. You'll be able to find me there.
There you go. So look for Bush Racing tonight on the leaderboard, see if he's up or down. And you can obviously interact on Twitter at Bush Racing. That's where I found him. I don't think we still haven't met in person. I need to get out to Penn. And where else do you race your horses? So you've got how many horses in training right now?
So we've got, I think, about 15 horses. We're always kind of buying and selling horses, though. We run a claiming stable, so, they come and go, I guess, unfortunately, in some cases. We've got about 15. Most of our horses are at Penn National, but we've got some horses at Charlestown. We've got some at Laurel. And in the past, we've had horses even in New York. Nothing there right now. So kind of throughout the Mid-Atlantic, I'd say we race.
Well, we'll say what's up to Matt. So Armchair Handicapping, find him on Twitter. He did his data tonight too for Penn National, and you can ask him questions there. One of these times, Matt, we're going to rope you into one of these, so just get ready. But let's kick it off. So I've gone through the first 4 races. So I've done half the card myself. Dave's done it all. So we're going to talk about at least the first 4, and we're going to dive into some of the others. This will be short and sweet. We want to know your picks. Again, first post is at 6 p.m. Get your stable in. $20 just to play, $2,000 guaranteed. The pool will grow. We never know. But so race 1 is not one of the stakes races. Race 1 is a $10,000 claiming, 1 mile and 70 yards over the turf. And this one was a little tough for me. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 written down. I actually have a question for you in this one. So let's go to the 9 horse. I want to see what you say. So do you ever look at the stats at some of these smaller tracks of trainers and kind of allow that to blind you a little bit of some of the horse stats, or do you throw the trainer stats out and say, I'm going only with the horse? Like the trainer stats on the 9 are pretty amazing. That's why I would bet the 9, but the horse stats, I would kind of pull back. Like, what's your opinion on kind of grouping those together?
Yeah, I think when you see trainers that are coming in that aren't kind of the mainstays at Penn National, they typically tend to do well. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from those trainers if they're not good trainers, but I think it's that they're bringing higher quality animals into Penn National. So, like, if you look at the case of this horse, which I think you're not off, and if you want to take a stab at a 5-1, I don't know what that is in stable duel, but you're getting a horse that's running at Gulfstream on the turf and the synthetic track there. I mean, we all know that Gulfstream is obviously significant, a couple of steps above Penn National. You might want to call it a mile above, whatever. So this horse is getting class relief, even though it's running for the exact same claim price that it just ran third at Gulfstream. So, on top of that, then it does have Kieran McGee as the trainer, who, is one of the better trainers throughout the Mid-Atlantic, at least percentage wise. He's typically always kind of a 20-25% trainer. So absolutely.
Okay. All right. So who do you like in this race?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one of the nice things about tonight being the stakes races and always within the turf races is, Penn tends to be like a chalk fest, right? In the 5 and 6 horse fields. And it's just almost impossible to build a stable. So the nice thing about tonight is you've got some turf racing, you've got the stakes races, which are mostly big fields. I went to the 4 Which in this race, 9-2. So let me look up and see the exact. You probably know. You've probably memorized what that would cost me. Do you know the dollar amount?
The funny thing is, I wrote down 9-2, and I was like, just like make sure you check. But of course, I didn't.
So 6,500. So I thought Which was a nice play in here. She's dropping down in class, and actually, if you look at some of the companies she's been holding in her last few, you'll find several of those names in the $50,000 girls stakes turf long race, right? So she's coming out of an allowance race where La Limonada won. I think La Limonada is in a stakes tonight. Swan Point, who ran third in that, is in the stakes later tonight. The race prior to that, all 3 of those horses, I'm pretty sure, are in the stake, or at least the winner and the third place horse are in the stake.
Clayton's, they all are.
Yeah. So, she's been facing tough competition. She hasn't run back to the form she did prior to the layoff in September. But, I'm just thinking that the class relief here is going to be enough. And the Nest horse looks all right, but I'm just not willing to pay the price on the Nest horse, which is the one. It's probably about $8,000 or something.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, he claimed for 40, ran 2 decent races, but I don't know. It felt like Which had a good shot in here at a decent price.
Well, and the interesting thing about this with these morning lines to the live odds. So morning line, you're getting 9-2, but Which is currently sitting at 9-1 live. So again, if you put these horses in your stable and you think they have a true shot of winning and it's 9-1, I mean, throw some money at it on the side. You can get some mega value there. So it'll be interesting to see. We did this at Assiniboia Downs, and we always compared the morning line to the live, and sometimes we would change our bets on those. But so that was something to note on the 4 here. Morning line 9-2, live 9-1. Yeah, I've got her in my mix for sure. This is, I think, an exciting, like you said, race card at Penn National. It's not 5 and 6 horse fields. There's 10, a couple scratches here and there. So 8, there's an also eligible. I don't think it made it in the 4th. But yeah, there's a lot more to talk about for tonight's card than sometimes in the past. But let's go to the second race, which is one of the $50,000 turfs, and it is 1 1/16 mile on the turf. And we just saw some of these names. Clayton's Candy was in that last race the second to last race with Which, and that's the 3 horse here. 84 speed figure winner. I like Clayton's Candy. I mean, not a lot of value there. You're going to pay for this horse, obviously, but I think you can afford to pay for this horse compared to some of the other ones. Did you go chalky in this one, or did you pick somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, certainly my kind of comment there is that I think Clayton's Candy is the class of the field. And if you have the money, you wouldn't be wrong in paying the, $8,000 or whatever it might be for Clayton's Candy, maybe even more than that. I went a slightly different direction. I saved some of my sure shots for later in the card, right? And if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I felt like this race could go a couple different ways. Clayton Candy's made a barn change since the last race. Not that Mark Savaggio is incapable of getting her to run similar numbers. I went actually to the 6, my thoughts. So you talked about trainers, and Tim Woolley is just like one of those guys that I always feel like he brings horses into Penn, primarily on the turf, and they always seem to run. If you look at a horse like that, it's a 3-year-old filly. She looks like she's improving. She won an allowance race over the turf at Penn 2 starts back, then tried a state level allowance at Laurel last out. Looked like a pretty good effort. Maybe she gets to sit the trip. It looks like there's some speed in here. So just kind of hoping that, Clayton's Candy gets caught up in an early speed duel.
Yeah, so I've got that as a value, $6,000. The other value pick too in this race, I don't mind Bella Prima. So 10 to 1, $1,000. Just had to refresh my screen here, so I got to go down to it. But Bella Prima, the 5 horse in this race. Let me see here. So a speed figure of 69, broke from the 1 hole last time and got second by a neck. Again, we're looking around the same distance. We're looking at turf with this horse. I didn't hate this horse. There was a disqualification. I didn't watch the replay, so I don't know how badly she could have been impeded by Dancing Till Dusk, or if it was a big deal and she would have won. I have no idea. It was by a neck is what the distance was, but I didn't mind this horse for 10 to 1. Again, if you've got to end up picking some value in some of these races. And so if I had to pick $1,000 horse, Bella Prima wouldn't be a bad pick for me in my stable.
Yeah, and I think like another horse that I could see as a value play in this particular race, I felt like there was a lot of pace on up front, and Bella Prima looks like she's paced to it looks like she is kind of a need the lead type, and I don't know that she gets it over Clayton's Candy, who's just a classier horse drawn inside of her. The horse that I would go to if I needed a price play would be Trolley Ride. I know she's never won over the turf, but it was an impressive win last out over the dirt. In fact, she beat Sour Mash in that race, which is my horse that's in a bit later. If this horse can go on the turf, then she could be really tough. A 10-time winner, made almost $400,000 in her life, and at 6 to 1, I think you've got a kind of reasonable price on her here.
Yeah. I want to love Champagne Toast for the name, but I just can't get behind that horse this time.
Yeah,
so.
That would be the one my wife took if I was letting her.
Well, then your wife's going to get it. That's what always ends up happening. We do all this chatting and talking, and then Champagne Toast ends up winning for
100% would be Champagne Toast. Yeah. I wouldn't even need to ask her in this race. I would just go bet it for her.
Here you go, honey. Here's your bet. Absolutely. Right. All right, race 3, another $50,000 stakes on the turf, 1 1/16 miles. Lebanon Valley is what this one is called. And yeah, this was another one that I think is kind of a toss-up. I don't know if I would choose this one as a double up necessarily, but I mean, let's see, we have a full 10 horse field, right? In this one, I think so. No, 3 scratched.
Yeah, I think the 9's out as well, but still, I mean, a full field. I think you've got 8 horses going to the post here.
Yeah, so who I liked the most was the number 8 horse here at Penn National on the turf. 5 starts, won 4 of them, and a third once. $3,000. I just, for $3,000, this 8 horse here, and what is it, Kolba? I can't even read my own notes. I'm sure everybody else does this too. Kovalov? Is that what it is?
Kovalov? That's what it looks like.
Yeah, there we go. Kovalov. Yeah, I like this horse, and for $3,000 at 8 to 1, I'm kind of like, why not?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I didn't even look at the 4 for 5. And the only blemish there is a 3rd place finish. So we'd have to go back and look. It was in a sprint.
I'll teach you a couple things tonight, Dave.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't even look at that one. I had a really strong opinion here in this race on the 10, You Must Chill. And the angle is not something that I would expect like someone who wasn't or didn't watch a lot of Penn National to know. And it goes back to this race on June 3rd. So in the With Anticipation Stakes, the 100K stakes race, that was just, this Penn National turf course is really strange, right? The turf track doesn't drain well. So when it gets water on it, like it becomes really, really wet and it doesn't drain.
Okay.
And I didn't have any horses running that night. That was the night of the Penn Mile, which I think is like a grade 2 or grade 3. But I was hearing from everyone that horses were sinking into that turf course, that soft, fast turf course, like up to their ankle. Like it was just, you couldn't make up any ground on that track, right? It was like, if you got to the lead, forget about it. The closer wasn't getting you. In the Penn Mile, a horse, I think it was called Wow, What a Summer, won at like 50 to 1. And it won a grade 2, having never won a maiden race. And beating like Todd Pletcher and other horses. And it got to the lead and no one ever caught it. And I feel like this horse, You Must Chill, it probably lost the race based on track condition that day. You know, tried to rate off the pace with Frankie on the turf, just didn't do it. So I'm just throwing that race out. I'm going back to these other turf races, you know, October last year at Laurel, the Alphabet Soup at Parks, where this horse has run really, really well, and saying Jamie Ness, Frankie Pennington, I throw that last one out. 3 to 1's probably not that bad of a price on these two.
Yeah. My notes for this one is obviously less turf than some of the other, but at the end of the day, if you look at, you know, just its overall finishes, the horse understands its job here. There's class in this horse, even though, again, we're looking at optional claimers, but there's class in this horse in the world that it runs in that really, like, I don't think you should be afraid to try it on turf. But that point that you just brought up is huge with Penn Mile Night. And I was going to ask you too. So we're looking at, so this horse lifetime starts has 27 starts. With horses like this, how far back do you go? So for this one, you looked at all the turf races all the way back to August 2021 at Penn Parks, September 21. That was the one. Both of those, this horse won. So obviously, like all the way, it's not even that all the way. I mean, they just run more frequently. But how far back do you go with horses that have run this much to kind of pull your opinion from?
Yeah, I mean, I typically don't, but on DRF Formulator, it's no plug to them, but like it's super easy to, right? Because you can just click the button to see all races. And I kind of always set my programs at that. And so like looking at that one, I'm just quickly looking at the screen and I can see all starts there. And so I really didn't go back and like watch those replays or anything, but seeing that the horse has 3 wins from 12 starts on the turf, 2 seconds, and what was it, 5 thirds. So 10 for 12 in the money. I felt like the horse can turf. You know, Jamie Ness doesn't win at the percentage that he wins at because he puts horses in bad spots, right? Like you don't win at 30% just taking a bunch of flyers. Like you've got some confidence there. And so I'm just saying, throw that one out. I know it was a really funky turf course that day. The outside post is maybe a little bit concerning. Two scratches inside moves this horse in a little bit, but she's going to have to avoid he's going to have to avoid a wide trip in this one as well. So
yeah, well, looks good. Yeah, so I thought there you go. You can kind of look here what it looks like on the DRF Formulator. That's what I looked at as well. Free PPs if you guys needed to know. You can go over to our Twitter. I've posted them twice on Stable Duel's Twitter, thanks to Penn Horse Racing over on their website. But you can get them for free or just take a look at this real fast, but I'll stop sharing.
And I thought, like, if someone really wanted a price here, I'll just mention it quick, not to talk about it much, but I thought Highway Bound was a decent price play inside the one at 6-1 with James Lawrence. He does well when he comes to Penn. Tyler Connors is a normal pilot. Horse is coming in from tougher racetracks, in my opinion. So, you know, if you need something at a price there, I'd look at that horse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Along with Kovalov.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, now we're going to freeze, but oh, there we go. Okay, so race 4 is another $50,000 stakes, and we're moving off the turf here. We're going back to the dirt, shortening up a little bit, 6 furlongs on the dirt. I'm going to let you spearhead this one since you've got one in the race that I like as well. But go ahead, you tell me who you like in race 4.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go against my own horse. So I put my horse, I think, in every single – I know I put my horse in every single one of the stables that I got. So you can see I'm a bit of a homer. So I went with Sour Mash, the 4. Reasons why. I mean, look, we had looked at the turf race long for the girls, which I think we talked about that already. I think that was the one Clayton's Candy was in. We considered that one or this spot. She doesn't have any turf form, so we thought, well, why not just sprint her? Let's just see what the race looks like. What do I like about it? I mean, I know on paper she looks like a need the lead type. I think she's going to have to be in the clear somewhere in this race. Whether she's got enough early speed to get the lead coming out of route races, I guess we'll see. But, you know, look, if you look at Talent Search, she might be the only good Talent Search progeny to go 2 turns. I think Talent Search has like 1,500 starts sprinting and maybe like 300 starts, all of the progeny going long.
Okay.
So I think she's going to have a shot. It looks like she's going to get the trip that she wants with the speed being inside. I think My Beautiful Belle is going to go. Side note, Tyler Connor chose to ride that horse over mine. Even though Sour Mash's mom, Dancing Sparks, lives at his farm, at his house. I was like, how can you do that, man? Like, the mom is right there. You ride the daughter of the mom at your farm, and you're not even riding her. You choose a different horse in the race.
Shameful.
But I'm going Sour Mash. I'm going with my horse.
Okay. Yeah, so this is one in Stable Duel that I would double up a little bit. I like your horse for sure. That would be one of my picks in the stable. But then the 8 horse Frosted Angel. So sometimes you got to look at these and you got to be like, really though? But 1 by 11 lengths the last time out and an allowance 29,000. And I mean, again, for 8-1, $3,000. I'm going to include it in the mix. And definitely on the outside post, but I feel like the horse can do just fine. It doesn't seem to have the speed, but it can come out, second or third and close and get first. And so I'm taking a shot doubling up with the 8-1.
And I think actually double up, this is a smart race for it because, if you look at some of the later races where, you're talking a 6-horse field, right? So, I forget what you get points back to on Stable Duel. Is it 4th or 5th? Or?
You get 5th, but it depends on length. So even if you finish 5th, but you get beaten by more than 10 lengths by the winner, you're getting negative, but again, that'll cancel out. So you're doing
so if you look at some of the later races that have shorter fields, you would even want some of those horses that are 8-1 in those races. I can't even make a case for them. So I think this is actually a really strong double up race to you. I think you're a really good play there.
Don't give out my secrets here now. All right. No, I love this. Okay. So race 5 is another 6 furlong on the dirt, $50,000. This is the last of the $50,000 stake streak that we have going on here. And this is also, of course, DRF, you're letting me down today loading on my live stream here. But this one I'm going to have you take as well. So 6 furlongs on the dirt. Who do you like in race 5?
So I went a little bit chalky here. The 7-horse, let me just get to the name here, Marvelous Mike. It was a really impressive race last time out at Penn, 109 and change, 1 in hand by 7. Just if you went back and watched that race, like the way this horse did it, it looked like there was a lot left in the tank. The horse comes back. I feel like it's placed well. It's drawn, I say, more outside than some of the other speed. And I think the other horse in the race that I liked was the 1. So I feel like having the outside post on the 1 is certainly an advantage. So I went Marvelous Mike and I was paying the money for it. But if you wanted to go to the 1 and say maybe you didn't have quite enough to spend on Marvelous Mike, I think Hero's Reward's another nice horse in here. This horse has done nothing wrong since coming into Penn from Monmouth. A perfect 2 for 2 with really impressive wins.
Yeah, I like the 1 here. So speaking of, rail versus out, is there any, not insider information, but obviously racing horses at Penn, are there any spots that you just prefer, post positions that you prefer, anything about the track? We heard about the turf course, but what about the dirt? Any angles at Penn that you think are different from other racetracks that players should know about?
I would say that Penn's definitely a speed favoring track. I don't know the exact statistic to tell you you need to be, this close up early and this is the percentage of winners. But I would say just from watching enough races and running there, I don't want to buy horses that run at Penn that are just dead closers, that are just pace dependent. So I think it's a speed favoring racetrack. Anytime if it were my horse and I was in a race like this and I've got speed, I always want to be the outside speed, right? So that I can kind of see what's happening inside of me and determine whether or not I need to go or I can sit right off. When you're on the rail and you're speed, you've got one option. You just need to pedal to the metal and just go all out. Whereas if you're outside speed, you can maybe sit just off the pace. You're not going to take dirt. So I always look at or I always favor outside speed in a race like this. And I think I've kind of got 2 horses that are very similar. That's what made me go to Marvelous Mike over, I'm going to look up the other name now.
Over the 1.
Hero's Reward.
Yeah.
But I think there are some prices in here. You could go a different angle and I think could do quite well. Jump Masters performed really, really well at Penn. They spot his races properly. Last out, he was in the Chocolate Town Sprint. And if you look at the winner of that, it was New York Traffic. That horse, I think, was in the Kentucky Derby. It's the Joe Saffie horse.
Yeah.
And if you look at this horse, Baron, he's really, really tough competition. He's running on PA Day at the races at Parks in a stakes race on Monday. Probably made $500,000 as a sprinter. So, and he wasn't beat terribly by 2 of those horses, only 5 lengths back. So you could go there. You could even go really, really cheap and go with a horse like Dollarization, who's going to be picking up the pieces late as well, 12-1 in my opinion. So. Yeah,
this will be a fun race to see unfold for sure. I didn't even look at the New York Traffic and Baron there. So, in Chocolate Town, have you been to Hershey?
Of course.
The park.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The racetrack. You've got, Chocolate Town there. So absolutely. Yeah. You get freshest Hershey kisses you can get, right?
Yes. It's been years, but the water park and everything. Hershey Town. What's it? Hershey Town?
It's called Chocolate World or
Chocolate World.
Oh, Hershey is the name of the town that it's in.
Yeah.
Hershey,
yeah.
PA.
And then Chocolate World. Okay.
Yeah. Chocolate World is where you watch it all. And then Hershey Park is the name of the park where.
Hershey Park. There we go. We go. highly recommend, hit up Penn National and then go to Hershey Park. So
yeah, and there's some good breweries over there too. Trogues Brewery is excellent, which is right next to Hershey Park. It's like they're like 15 minutes apart. So, take the family, right? Go to Hershey Park for the day, stop at Trogues afterwards, have a drink for happy hour, and then shoot over to Penn National for evening racing. I mean, you can't beat it, right?
I think that is
You've got a casino at Penn too. So you can spend the night. You can stay the night there. And
are there proper table games? Or?
Oh yeah, everything. Yep, craps, table games. They've got it all. Yep.
I've learned to love racinos, love them so much. Charlestown, because I feel like I could never win on both. I either win at the track and then lose at the tables, or I lose at the track and then I get it back at the tables.
Right.
So far, I have not been able to hit both, but one of these days.
Yeah, it's all right there. It's very similar to Charlestown. I know you spent a night or two down there.
The
only thing that Penn doesn't have, which is cool at Charlestown, is that they have the hotel right on the backside, back stretch there.
Yes, and a Taco Bell right next door.
Oh, they do. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. And an Applebee's, if you're into that, right?
We got it all. Yeah. Charlestown has it all. No, we're gonna do a big night in next Friday for Charlestown, because that's their big night. I think that's the Charlestown Derby. I've got the stakes over here, but we're doing that next Friday. So
yeah, big card down there next week. So that's always a fun one.
Yep. All right. So you've got to take the reins on the next three. Do you have some really strong opinions in races 6, 7, and 8?
Yeah, I'll just take you through. I'll take you through the races that are what I think. So I think, this is now you start to get into kind of classic Penn National races, right? Short 6-horse fields. It's tough to really make a case to beat the favorite in here. So I think if you're doing the stable duel, you have to reserve some money for these last 3 races, because the way that I see it, it's going to be tough to beat favorites. So in race 6, Curlington, I think might be tough, but he's going to be pace dependent. He's going to need some pace to run at. So I actually lean to the 4 in here, Double the Heart. This horse comes in from Parks and Monmouth, which are, a couple of steps above Penn National. To me, it looks like lone speed. I think this horse gets loose in the lead and is really, really tough to beat. 2 back, it ran against Coach Adams, only got beat 4 lengths, and that horse has been really, really tough in starter allowance races at Monmouth all season there. So I think that's the horse to beat. And actually, he's the second choice on the morning line, right?
Yeah.
So 3-1 behind Curlington.
3-1, $8,000. So it's up there, but it's not terribly up there.
I think in a race where it's really tough to make a case for lots of these, I can't make a case for the 6 in this race, Terry's Charm, maybe the 5. I can't make a case for the 2 at all, Digger's Diamond. And the 1 Wolfenbarger just doesn't fit for me. So you kind of narrow it down to maybe 3 horses that you could spend money on, 2 of them being favorites. So that's where I would go.
Okay. All right. So then race 7, what are we looking at in race 7?
Race 7, you've got a familiar name here. You need to take a really close look at the 4 horse and the owners that horse was claimed from last out.
It's loading, so just hang on for my startup computer over here. A familiar, maybe it's a turn. Who are we looking at here?
So look at Fletch de Amour. I think that's how you say it, the 4 horse.
Okay. Oh yeah. They've become quite the owners.
Yeah. So yeah. I think this horse is certainly the one to beat, but there's no way that I'm paying that kind of money for a horse that has, really has had no excuse in her last 2. No excuse in those last 2. Went off 60 cents on the dollar, 2 back, couldn't get the job done. Last out, I thought that race was terrible. Still couldn't get the job done. Even riding a 7-pound bug, so getting a bit of a weight allowance. Could it win? Yeah, it could win. But it's just not one that I was willing to back it. I'm going to get $9,500, right? Something
massive bucks for it, right?
Yeah. In fact, I would be okay if you just punt this race and say, I'm not even going to play a horse in this race. Because I really don't know where you go after that. Life is Eternal is 2-1. And I have trouble paying $9,000 or whatever the number is for that horse as well. And then after that, I don't know where you go. The 1 horse is scratched. Bruce Kravitz entered 2 in the race, so maybe he tried to get it to go for the 2. Smart Tart, stretching out. We talked about you doubling up in that prior race, right, on an 8-1 shot, or you could take this horse at 8-1.
Yeah.
I'd much rather your double up in the earlier race on an 8-1.
Yeah, and there's not much that gives like even Back to Life is Eternal. You look at the maiden win. So it was a maiden 10,000, won by 11 lengths. You would think that the connections would get. I mean, obviously had a ton of losses before that, but somebody would get excited. But no, the next time out, it went out at 35-1.
They tried it on the turf. I mean, Dave Geist is like a 5% trainer at Penn National, and part of it is why, like, you win a 10,000 maiden, like the actual spot to run that horse back next would have been in this race, 5,002 life, right?
Yeah.
But no, he went to a turf race in a protected spot.
Just swinging.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he's a 5%. You know, I say it's not just about being good trainers, about placing your horses in the right spot. And this is a clear example of one that hasn't. I mean, yeah, maybe you can throw that turf race out. Maybe last time out, you can say, what was on a good track. I'll throw that out. It still got beat 9 lengths. So, yeah. I mean, Fairy Dreams, I see as italicized. So what probably was a next out winner. I'd much rather spend 2 to 1
in a field of 5. So you got beat by 9 lengths in a field of 5. I don't know. Like
if this was a race I had to play and I did not want to play the favorite, I would probably play Simple Justice. And that pains me to say that because that trainer is just as bad. He might win 1 race a year every year. And he's already won his 1 for this year. So he's probably hit his quota. But my only thing I can say about that one is, it does say, I didn't watch the race, but it says that he was off slow, kind of missed the break last out. Still got beat 10 by Fletch D'Amour. I don't know, maybe that one at 10-1 is not going to cost you much. But.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe these 8-5s and 2-1s is just because the other ones are the morning line setter is like talking just like you, and it's like that one's out, this one's out, 8-5, 2-1.
It is bad. I mean, so if you said I didn't want to play the race, like I'd probably say, yeah, that's a really good call. If you said I'm going to play the winner at $9,500. Be a little bit worried, but I guess wouldn't be a bad call either, because I just can't see any other horse winning. But when I'm spending 9,500, like I want a sure shot. Like I really want to have a lot of confidence knowing that it's going to win. And there's 5 other ways that I would go in this card and other races spending money like that than this one.
Yeah, and truly that's the interesting thing. That's where your strategy comes in here. What do we think other players are going to do? Mm-hmm. Do we need to do the same thing so that we keep in line with them, or do we need to swing somewhere else so that if their strategy doesn't work, you bump up, in points on the leaderboard? Again, that's why you could play a couple stables, different strategies, but race 7 kind of feels like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, and like if Fletch D'Amour doesn't, and that's a horse I don't think will just draw off and win by 10. Like I don't, right? Which means that all those other horses that could be really cheap might run 4th, but might only get beat a length or 2.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get out of that one. Go to the closing race. This is a claiming 62.5, 6 furlongs on the dirt, and yeah, we've got how many? Let's see. It's so funny because you look over on the side and it's like this big. You're like, oh, there's a lot of horses. But no, these horses have run 92 times their entire lifetime. So you've got a lot to scroll. Who do you like in this one, Dave?
So I guess one of the angles that I always look for is Parks horses coming into Penn. And so Parks has been closed for the last 2 weeks. It's kind of like annual maintenance that they do. So horses that were recently claimed at Parks can come directly into Penn National without having to serve their 60-day jail time, which most tracks require if you claim there. So just one angle to look at if you're seeing Parks horses come in. That's a tougher racetrack. And so it's a step down coming to Penn, even though the claim price might be the same. In this race, you kind of have a double positive. So this horse, this round's mine, the 1 horse, is stepping down in class and, going from 7,500, 15 and 25. Down to a 62.50 claimer, and coming from Parks, which is just a tougher racetrack. So I'm going to throw out the last race. It looks like it was drawn inside. It was a good racetrack. Maybe the horse just didn't take the track. Maybe it was a race that just got covered up quick and was eating a bunch of mud. Again, that Parks track can be really difficult. It gets deep, gets heavy. So I'm just throwing that one out.
Okay.
If I look back, the last race ran for 15, ran 5th by 4, but all 3 finishers above that horse, always talking, nurturing, and back channel, were next out winners. Now, I don't know what they won for. I didn't actually do my due diligence to go through that, but just the fact that they were next out winners
Yep.
This is basically the bottom level. I believe this horse presents a lot of value, and at 4-1 in a short field like this, I'd be all over this round's mine on my stable. Right, I am on my stable all over this horse.
Yep. Yep. So how do you look at changes, and especially with like ones that have run this many times? So we were looking at Mad Mary. The horse has run 55 times lifetime, and we've got a change of putting blinkers on. Would you even care to look at something like that, or you're like, I mean, they're just trying anything at this point?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the formulator, and if you actually go back, and this might even be in the last 12 races, but the horse wore blinkers early February this time at Parks, and I can't say that the horse ran any better. In fact, when the horse took blinkers off for the first time is actually when she won her last win. To me, this is just a horse. I mean, 5 wins out of 55 starts. I mean, I don't like betting on horses who don't like to win. I don't like buying horses who don't like to win, and this is just one of them. If you're looking for a price because you don't have a lot of money and you need to put something in there, yeah, she's one who kind of hits the board. And this is a step down slightly, but don't be fooled by that last race, that starter 6250. The way that condition is actually written, I'm going to try to see if I have it right in my head, is that have started for 6250 in their last 5 starts and not won a race, I think for 6250 or more. So it's quite restricted to the point where the race is basically like a $5,000 or $4,000 claimer. Like it's so it's not really a starter race like you would think of a starter race. When you actually dig into the condition, it's like, oh yeah, these aren't very good horses at all. Like for example, Fairy Dust was in there, who's also in this race. So that'll give you some perspective on the types of horses that run in there.
Well, awesome. Well, yeah, no, I feel like the strong opinions kind of come races 1 through 5, and then 6, 7, and 8. That's hopefully when you've like thrown back a few beers on your Friday night and you're just ready for whatever to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the card is certainly front weighted, right? It's top heavy in terms of the quality of races. You get to the back. If you're someone who gets to bed early, you're not going to miss anything. Missing the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Well, hopefully you all wake up to winning stables in the $2,000 guarantee. That's always a good feeling.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Yeah. Good luck tonight with what is it? Sweet Mash?
Sour Mash.
Sour Mash. Her sister.
Cool horse for yeah. I mean, I wish I could say that we did it all. We claimed her for 16. Off of like a 2-race win streak. I want to look here. And then she ripped off 2 in a row for us. So she had a 5-race win streak going. 1, 2, 4 race until we ruined it last time out when she ran 3rd by 6 to Trolley Ride. But she had to work hard in that race. I mean, she went 110 and change for the 6 furlongs in that race. And she still had another almost 3 furlongs left to run.
So what's now I've only been, when I worked for Team Valor, I've only been on not the selling side, but the selling side of claiming, where, if the horse wins and it gets claimed, this is what you're walking away with as an owner. What is the business side trying to claim horses? So where would you look at, okay, so this is what the claiming price is, 15,000. This is what it's going to cost. Like, this is what we think, race wise that we want to do, race it twice, put it back into claiming. Like, what is the thought process when you look at a horse to claim and to get an ROI?
Yeah, so everyone has different ideas. My kind of thought process is I always look for horses that I know that I can move up in class, right? Because you need to be able to move them up, particularly in the first 20 days. You can't run them unless you move them up. So I want horses that I can move up and I feel like they have a really good shot to win. So I guess case in point with Sour Mash here. We claimed it for 16, which if you look, you'd go, well, she ran for 10 the start before that, 10 the start before that, and 7,500 the start before that. You basically paid top dollar for that horse in her last, 10 starts. But she was at Penn National. So when I claim her at Parks, I'm stuck at Parks for 60 days. Okay. I can't race her outside of Parks for 60 days. So now I could take her to a farm. I can take her wherever I want, but I can't run her anywhere. So I felt like with this particular horse, Penn is a speed favoring racetrack. Parks can be really deep and laborsome for horses up front. So she was coming to Penn now where I could claim her and she could race here immediately. And I knew that this horse could step up in company to beat state bred allowance horses, which is what she beat next out. And then regular allowance or open allowance horses in her very next start. And so, to me, I was paying a premium for her. But knowing that she was at Penn, I could race her immediately back and I could put her in 2 quick spots that I thought she could win. the 16,000 was worth the price. And, I didn't know about these stakes races. They kind of just came up with them recently. So it was just an added bonus.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was kind of my angle here. Now, like, what's she going to be worth if she can't compete at the optional 25K level where she ran last out? She's probably like a 10 to 12.5 horse, right? But given the fact that I've won two $30,000 races, and she's a PA bred, so she gets a bonus every time she wins. Even if I sold her for less than what I paid for her, it's still a profitable venture for us, just losing a couple of bucks in the claim price.
Yeah. So if you're ever looking at ownership, honestly, talk to Dave. State bred programs, like ping your state bred horsemen's group, because there's always bonuses. New York breeders, obviously,
Yep.
PA breeders, and those bonuses can come in as long as you signed up or what. Sometimes you have to opt in, right? Like, and then you get bonus if you're the breeder or whatever it is. But check out those programs. Ask Dave if you have any questions. You went through some of the tracks you run at, so you'll know more than just Pennsylvania. But
Yep.
We're going to get Pennsylvania horsemen involved into this path to the PA Derby. So we're going to learn a lot about Pennsylvania racing the next 5 weeks.
And they've got really good breeder incentives in PA. I mean, we don't breed, but even owner incentives, I guess. So at Parks, when you win, and Parks purses are already really good. But when you win and you have a PA bred, you get a 40% purse bonus at Parks. So like, you can literally win a bottom level race and get almost $20,000 in a beaten $5,000 claiming race. At Penn, it's 30%. Their purses are lower than Parks, but still 30% bonus. And at Presque Isle, I think it's 20 or 30% as well, which is the seasonal meet up in Erie on the synthetic. But New York has a great program, as you mentioned. Maryland has a great program. Kentucky as well, too. I mean, one of the big things about Kentucky is they actually bake those incentives into the purse money. So like some of their allowance races are like $100,000 allowance race, but it's only if you're a Kentucky bred. If you're not, it's like 60,000. So it's a bit misleading once in a while. I ran a horse out there that wasn't a Kentucky bred, and I was like, this is only
wait a minute.
Whereas Penn, that money's in addition to, it's not already included in the actual purse money in PA and Maryland. I think Kentucky's the only track or the only place that actually like confuses you and makes you actually subtract money out if you're not.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're going to see a few of those, especially with Kentucky Downs, kind of where we're going to start to see the young superstars breaking out on the grass course. So it'll be exciting. But yeah, I feel like I learned something new every single time I talk to you. So I appreciate that. And good luck to your stables tonight. Check out Dave on Twitter at Bush Racing. You can follow his horses on a virtual stable at Equibase. But you do post about them a lot on your Twitter too, right? If they're okay.
On Twitter, on Facebook. If you go to our website, which is bushracingstable.com, we've got a feed there in the very beginning that posts about all the horses that run. You can see what our stable roster looks like. You can watch replays of all of our horses. We post the racing program there on each of the horses' profiles when they're running that day. So all kinds of good information. If you're interested in ownership, shoot me a message, talk to you about it, whether we're the right fit for you or not. I'm always happy to talk to prospective owners. So yeah, and thanks for having me, Bree.
Good silks, that matters, because some of these people just have ugly silks.
They're not just good, but like the right silks, like speed silks, the nice, like tight fitting ones that actually look good too. There's nothing worse than like seeing a horse come back to the finish line with these like big baggy silks that you're like,
they're like the old school, like silks that are flapping. They're not aerodynamic. This matters.
Yeah, it's like a parachute in the back of the jockey. I'm like, Chris, if he falls, I'll just throw that thing out and land softly, right? We don't
actually have speed silks hanging in my laundry room over here. I was like, well, this is pretty much that I'm a racing person if I have speed silks hanging in my laundry room.
That's it. I just gave my daughter an old pair of ours, so now she wears ours around the house as well. So yeah, she's got her own pair now too.
Well, now they're even more lucky.
That's right.
Thanks, Dave. Good luck, everybody. You have 15 minutes to get your stable set, $20 entry, $2,000 guarantee. Good luck tonight and the big night in, and have an awesome time.
See you guys.